This poem deals with the ideas of banking sector. For the bank employees, pride and patriotism is of no importance except the lure of making money. Buying and selling of banks has served only the interest of the bankers and not the customers. Welcome dear students, I am Mrs. Reena, lecturer, Department of English at Vidhyaashram First Grade College, MYSURU. Today, in this session, let us discuss the poem We Are the TSB Banking Directors of second semester B.B.A. Under this, we will be going through introduction to the poet, introduction to the poem and the summary of the poem. Now let us know about the poet. The poet of this poem is Daryl Ashton, and he is a very keen writer, mainly of poetry, covering all kinds of topics including humor and more serious writings too. Then he thrives on political satire and is equipped with a fantastic and very wicked sense of humor matched with an incredible imagination. Then his poems have also won several major competitions, and he is also a leading reader of poems at various poetry groups. Here is the introduction to poem. Here TSB means it is a trustee savings bank which belong to Britain. So We Are the TSB Banking Directors poem is a famous poem written by Daryl Ashton, and it emphasizes on the importance of banking and with its usage on the digital platform. So the importance, this poem emphasizes on the importance of banking and also its usage on the digital platform. So it was seen that the bank faced a lot of chaos or confusions after a recent change in its online platforms. Okay, so after we started our banking transactions, everything through online or online payment, after that there was lot of confusion between the people and the bank. Okay, so here most of them had the confusions. The Trustee Savings Bank was one of the British financial institutions. So the poem also helps the readers to understand the ideas and thoughts of the poet in the banking sector. So here this poem deals with the ideas of banking sector. The poet opens the poem highlighting the attitude of bank employees. So here, as the poem opens, the poet is highlighting the attitude of the bank employees towards their customers. Okay, so here the whole poem is how the bank employees used to behave with their customers. So banks are established with the sole purpose of serving its customer. The main purpose of the bank is to serve its customers, whether they are rich or poor, influential or layman. Okay, so here the main job or main duty of the bank employees is to serve their customer without any discrimination. That is, whether they are rich or poor, whether they are influential or layman, they have to treat everyone equally and they have to help the people. So here the bank employees admit that they are really in service of the people and are willing to go any length to serve its customers. So here the bank employees admit, they say that they are ready to work for the purpose of people. They like to say yes to the request of their customers, but instead they like to cause stress by harassing their customers. So whenever we go to a bank, in the beginning they say that they will do all the things. Okay, they say yes to everything, whichever questions we ask them or whichever help we need, and if we say that to them, they say that they will do everything. They will not say no to us. In the beginning they will say yes, but in the name of that they keep harassing the customers. They can sanction easy loans to their customers, but only cater a few selected privileged and influential people. So whenever a poor people, especially the farmers or working class people, whenever they go there, bank employees immediately they will not help them. Though they can easily sanction the loans, they make the working class people stay or wait for long time. Okay, they ask them to undergo lot of process. So they will do the work for only privileged and influenced people. So the employees of bank, they will be always ready to work for only the privileged and influenced people. So due to globalization, here the poet says, due to globalization and liberalization of economy, even a tiny country such as Spain could bid to buy bank in UK by flashing their cash. Here the poet speaks how the bank, okay, for the profit, for the sake of profit, will sell their own banks to other countries. For here he is saying that this bank was sold to Spain for gaining more profit. Here he says that is due to globalization and liberalization of economy, even a tiny country such as Spain could bid to buy in UK by flashing their cash. Okay, so here he's saying Spain, comparing to UK, Spain is the smallest country. Okay, so here as Spain is having lot of money, they are ready to buy the bank from a bank of UK. And here he says that the bank, UK bank, is sold to Spain for gaining more profit. So the greedy directors of the bank agreed to sell the bank to the Spanish because they would make a huge profit from the sale. So what was the purpose that UK bank, that TSB bank was sold to Spanish? It was because they would make a huge profit from the sale. So here the poet speaks about the sale of the Britain bank to the Spanish bank. Next, here he speaks about pride and patriotism. So here the poet says that pride and patriotism is of no importance to them. So he says that for the bank employees, pride and patriotism is of no importance except the lure of making money. Here they are not worried about the pride of their country or patriotism. They are not much patriotism. They are only worried to make profit, only worried to make more money. So the poet says that when they heard that another bank in UK was sold to a foreign source, everybody agreed that it was good for the economy of Britain. So there was no place for pride, patriotism, nor was there any concern for their own customers. So the poet says when they heard that another bank was sold to another country, that is Spain, he says that to a foreign source, everybody agreed that it was a good idea for the economy of Britain. And here he stresses that when they sold that, there was no place for pride or patriotism, nor was there. So here the Britain bank was not concerned about their customers. Okay, they were only concerned about themselves and they were thinking how to make profit out of this bank. They were here we can see the selfishness of the bank employees. The bank which are supposed to be in service of people now serve only the interest of the trustees, the directors and the employees. Okay, here the bank which promised, in the beginning the bank promised that it will work for the customer, but here the bank which are supposed to be in the service of people now are serving only the interest of the trustees, the directors and the employees of the bank. So here the bank is working for only the purpose or the profit of the trustees, the directors and the employees. So they completely neglected the customers or the people. Once upon a time, the customer was the king. So once upon a time, this bank used to treat the customer as king. But in these times of globalization and liberalization, profit making is the only motive of any business. So once upon a time, the customer of the bank were treated as king, but now due to this globalization and liberalization, profit making is the only motive of any business. So here they are not worried about any of their customers. So whether they are in loss or profit, the bank employees are not worried. Only they wanted to get profit for themselves. So nations all over the world trade their assets such as banks and sell them to the highest bidder, and they sell their national asset for huge profit. So here, so bank is a asset of nation. Here the poet says that now nation all over the world, so trade their assets such as banks and sell them to another country or they bid to another country and they sell their national assets for huge profits. The poet here is trying to express a sense of loss when some banks of UK were sold to Spanish and other foreign entities. So here the poet is expressing a sense of loss when some banks of UK were sold to the Spanish and other country, so or other foreign entities. So when we sell a bank to another country, so it will be a great loss for the people. It's a national bank is a national asset where the nation gets lot of profit, okay, where nation can economically develop. But here when we sell that national asset to other countries or foreign entities, only the people or the employees or the trustees or the directors of the bank will get profit, but not the people or not the customers. So the poet draws the selfish attitude of the British bankers when he points out, yes, we'll inform our customers, but when the time is right. Okay, here he speaks about the selfish attitude of the bankers. So the bankers usually say yes for everything. So whenever you ask something, whether you can do or whether you can sanction a loan, whenever you ask that, they will in the beginning they say that yes, we will do this for you, but they will say we'll inform our customers, but they say that when the time is right. So here this shows their total disregard for their customer safety. So most of us, most of the people or most of the customers, they must have some savings in their bank, and without informing them, this bank trustees or bank directors will sell the bank to another nation. So here they says that yes, we will inform about this to the customer, but not when we sell, but when the time is right for them. So here globalization has liberalized trade all over the world, but increased competition in the global market has reduced the profit percentage of most business. So here globalization has liberalized the trade all over the world, but it has increased competition in the global market and it has reduced the profit percentage of most business. So it is not surprise that the bank directors are greedy here, because their own survival itself is tough. So whenever there is lot of competition in the field or in the global market, sometimes the bank people itself, they will not get any profit, even their life will not be, or their work will not be in safer side. So what they will do, they will decide to sell the bank to other, and they will decide to gain profit from them. So here the poet is saying that, so when the bank employees' life itself or their survival is tough, they automatically they will work to make their life safe, and they will not worry about their customers. So here we can see the greediness of the bank employees. So they doesn't bother about their customers. So the poet says that the Spanish people are in charge of most banks now. The Spanish people, they were able to buy so many banks from other countries, and now they are in charge of most banks. And the poet is sure that they speak English, but if their banking system becomes fully automated, then the language of correspondence will be Spanish, which will seem as gibberish to the natives of England. So the poet says that the Spanish people are in charge of most banks now, and the poet is sure that they speak English. Okay, Spanish people speak English, but here there is a confusion. But if their bank system becomes fully automated, so when the bank becomes automated, the language will change to Spanish from English. So when it changes to Spanish, the people of the natives of England will find difficult to understand the language of Spain. The poet ironically points out the employee of the banks praise themselves for their service-oriented attitude, but in reality they serve themselves by making a lot of money for themselves. Okay, so here the poet is saying that the poet ironically points out that employees of the bank, they praise themselves, saying that we have worked for the customers. Okay, we have served the customers in a well manner, but he says that in reality they have not served the customers, they have served themselves, so by making a lot of money for themselves. So people have now come to know the fraudulent means by which the bankers had minted money for themselves. Now the people or the customers, now they came to know how the fraudulent means. Fraud means how the bankers had minted money for themselves. So the poet implies buying and selling of banks has served only the interest of the bankers and not the customers. Buying and selling of banks worldwide by different countries has served only the interest of the bank employees or the trustees or the directors, but it has not served the interest of any customers. Next, the poet expresses the cynical attitude of the bankers. After selling their banks to the Spanish for a huge profit, the bankers gleefully search for new pastures, new places where they could invest their money. So here again, poet speaks about the selfish attitude of the bankers. He says that after selling their banks to the Spanish for huge profit, after that they go in search of new places, new pastures or new home where they can invest their money. So they are not at all bothered about the customer who has saved their money in their bank. They are only worried about themselves, and after receiving the profit, after selling the bank to another country, usually they get the money, they get the profit, and using that profit they go in search of new pastures and new places where they can invest their money. So they invested public money for their own benefit and made huge profit. In the previous slide we saw that the bankers, they say that yes, we will inform about all these procedures, we will inform to the customer, but when the time is right. So here, so they have, after selling the bank, they got their profit. They received a huge profit, everything, and after that they moved from that place to another place and they starts living a happy life, and here they invested the public money for their own benefit and had made huge profit. Hence the poet satirizes the selfish motives of the bankers. So the bankers who have to safeguard public money are in fact greedy sorts, who are in the business of banking for only their own interest and not that of the customers. The poet is comparing the bankers to greedy sorts because selfish attitude, and he compares them to greedy sorts, so who are in the business of banking. So here banking is also a business now. So business of banking, and they work only for their own interest and not that of the customers. So hope you all understood the different changes happen in the banking sector. Here the poet spoke about the greediness or selfishness of the bankers and their disloyalty towards the customers. So in the next session, let us discuss the prose, light is like water. Thank you. Stay safe and happy.